Cool. And here's the attendees list.
Too early.
There we go.
Oh, it's coming in.
Okay.
You have time.
It's Alexis, right?
Yes.
Can the people hear us?
Yes.
Oh,
Well, hello, everyone.
yeah, give him about 2-3 minutes.
I know.
Yeah, give him, about 2-3 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah, they're coming in.
very nice.
What Dr. Sika's on?
Hey, next time I'm down in SoCal or near LA, I'm going to stop by.
Oh, definitely.
I've been down there probably 5 times in the last 6 months to do speaking stuff. And I apologize. I probably should have thought about coming by and saying hello, but so. All right, everybody's jumping in. Jessica says hello. Vikas Sika says hello. Everybody's saying hello.
Alexis has created an amazing team of followers. I see all these names every month.
That's great.
So we're at 59. We had 219 people registered for today. So
Wow.
hopefully about 75% of them will show up.
It's usually about 40%.
No, ours is higher.
Ours has been around the 75% of registrants. So
Oh, that's fantastic.
pretty on it.
That's great.
Give everybody some time to get on.
You do these monthly?
Yeah, but I'm holding him back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we do this monthly.
Well, that's great. Great value add for your relationships and partners.
Okay, my man, we're sharp 6 o'clock. We're going to get started as people log in, okay? So we can do the initial housekeeping stuff. I wanted to welcome everybody to our webinar tonight. Our guest is going to talk about marketing. I'm going to let Adrian introduce himself. I'm just going to tell him that after Jack and Blake, now it's Adrian. So we've been with this company 3 generations. 3 generations, and we love them all. It is such a, you guys do excellent work, your presentations, everything about your marketing. We've always had good traction. I think what Jack has been around maybe over 10, 15 years ago, he started with us.
About 15 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really nice to have you. Thank you for accepting our invitation, Adrian. I'm going to have you and Alexis take over, and I'm going to be just a spectator, so I get my 2 CE credits.
Yes. Even as a spectator, you must be logged on for the full 2 hours to make sure you get your 2 CEs for tonight. If you are on in a group setting, please make sure you are logged on with your own link to make sure your name is popping up and you are on our registration list. So please make sure to have that settled. And more than anything, thank you so much, Adrian, for speaking for us tonight and for acknowledging all of us. Even myself, I can't wait to learn from you. So
how are we going to handle the Q&A at the end or as we go?
oh yes, Q&A, please ask all of your questions on the Q&A or in the chat section. We'll answer them all at the very end so you can take your notes, make sure if anything is getting answered as we're going, at least you get your answer. And if you still have more questions, we'll make sure to answer them at the very end.
Okay, Adrian, do me a favor. Once you take over, could you please give them a background of everything that you guys do?
Sure.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Alexis, I've got 3 parts to this presentation that talk about 3 different strategies.
Okay.
I'm going to break for just a moment at the end of each section and ask for Q&A.
Okay, that's perfect.
well, because we might have some questions that are related to each section, and we'll be kind of changing subjects as we go through. So, all right. Well, that is awesome. Thank you, Dr. Safa. I really appreciate the opportunity
Oh,
to come on.
you're welcome.
And I'm the CEO of a company called My Social Practice. We're a digital marketing agency. We've been working in the dental industry, and we only work with dentists for a little over 15 years now. We got started in 2009. And we do anything kind of digital marketing. So we do social media. We actually started in social media. Um, we were the first company to develop a social media marketing product or service for dentists. This is back in 2009. This is before TikTok. This is before Instagram. It was really Facebook back then. And we were way, way ahead of the curve with that. And then over the years, we've added additional products and services. We do website design and development, hosting of websites. We do graphic design and copywriting and SEO and ads and reputation management. And we're getting heavily into AI and some of the AI capabilities. So basically, anything in digital marketing is something that we have quite a bit of experience with. We've worked with over 7,000 practices in the United States and Canada. We currently have about 1,500 practices that we work with. So we're not a mom and pop shop. We've got a decent, size list of clients that we've worked with. And we don't plan on going out of dentistry. We love dentistry. We love working with dental practices. We understand the nuance of running a practice, the complications. We understand the bandwidth issues, hiring issues, all the stuff. So, and when you get into marketing, you really have to understand the industry intimately in order to really craft the right type of marketing campaign and message. So, years ago, we thought about going outside of dentistry, and we dipped our toe in optometry, strange enough, and found that we'd rather work with dentists. So anyway, that is not a jab on optometrists. It was just it was so hard to take what we'd built and developed and move it into optometry and have it work. Even though they're both uh, elective healthcare services, the marketing campaigns are so radically different that we found it to be really, really difficult. So anyway, we only work with dentists. We are based out of Salt Lake City, Utah, but we got rid of our office during COVID. Sorry, I had to say that evil word. But so now we work remote, and I've got employees. We've got about 30 employees. They're all over the country. We've got an employee in Spain. We have an employee in South America. We have somebody in Hawaii. And we keep our people. It's what's cool about not having an office is if you've got a really great employee and they need to leave, they want to move, you can keep them. It opens up your employee pool. You don't have to hire locally, which is something we found we were a little bit concerned about when we got rid of our office. But now that we have our office, now that made that transition, we realize we get better people. So anyway, that's a little bit about us. I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second, and we will go ahead and get started into this. I need to find my little button. Where'd it go? There it is. Okay. There. And let me play this. All right. So let me tell you a little bit about, hold on 1 second. Let me make sure I've got the audio set up properly. Let me make sure I've done that correct. Yes, I did. Okay. Okay, and then let me get my slide presentation back up. Apologize. There it is. You guys, I closed that out and now I'm going to reopen it. I'm sorry, 1 second, really quick. My apologies. Give me 1 second. When I jumped back and forth, I ended up closing out my keynote, and there we go. Okay, so now I've got it back up. Okay, share. Here we go. And we'll hit play on that. Okay. So as we go through this, I have 3 distinct topics that we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about 3, and these are all related to new patient acquisition and there are other ancillary benefits to these strategies, but primarily it's focused on generating new patients, how to be found and generate new patients and convert those patients or interested patients into actual scheduled patients. Okay. So I'm going to break 3 times. At the end of each section, I'll stop and I'll check the Q&A. So please put your Q&A or in the Q&A, or you can chat it in, and I will make sure that we handle those questions. And I would appreciate questions. So please don't hesitate to ask something that I may say something that sounds controversial or something you don't understand. Don't feel like there's no dumb question. So please ask questions. So what we're going to talk about are 1, how to optimize your Google business profile. 2, how to optimize for AI overviews, which gets into artificial intelligence and how that is affecting search. And then we're going to talk about using dental AI receptionists, or AI receptionists can answer calls or make outbound calls, which is a technology and software that's just kind of hit the market in the last year with all these advancements in AI. So let's talk about optimizing your GBP. So the acronym GBP stands for Google Business Profile. And the Google Business Profile is the little pin in the map. So when you do a Google search and the map comes up and you see all the little pins and the reference to those pins, the information, your practice name, the number of reviews you have, your address, phone number, that's what's called your Google Business Profile. And your Google Business Profile, many of you here probably know what this is, but every time I go speak about it, I always find that maybe 20, 30, 40% of the crowd aren't familiar with this. So if it's old news, I'll move into some tactical stuff here in a second, but let me make sure that everybody's on the same playing field, so to speak, and we understand what this is. So the way that Google basically finds these Google business profiles and places them in the Google map, they're not gathering this information from your website. They're gathering it from your business listing, your practice listing in the Google business database, which is called your Google business profile. And all of these profiles are managed or owned by a Google account. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. So you can set one up when you start your practice, and you set it up by logging into a Google account that you own, like adrian@gmail.com, and you set up that business listing underneath, or basically the account that you're setting owns and manages the listing, which gives you the ability to go in and edit and update information and so forth. So some people get this confused, or these listings confused with your website. It's not your website. Your website does have some influence on how these rank and how you're found in the map and where and so forth. But the information isn't coming from your website. It's coming from this profile. Okay. Now, the reason why this section in the search results is so vitally important for new patients is that about 2/3, this number of 68% is a couple years old. I think it's closer to 75 now. So right around 2/3 to 3/4 of your patients, or the potential patients who are looking for a dentist, go to this Google map and they make a phone call right from the Google map. A lot of these patients don't even click through to your website. They go to the Google map, they see where you're located, They check your review profile. If your review profile is competitive and it's good, you've got more reviews than other practices around, you get the call. Okay. So it's like this awesome engine for having, it's the best way, frankly, for a patient to find you and actually make that phone call to schedule an appointment. The other thing about the Google business profile is that it's trusted in several consumer studies that have been done over the last several years. There's lots of them, and all of these studies kind of support each other. Patients, consumers trust the review profile and trust the listings inside of the review profile as one of the most valuable, trustworthy references for your business. Consumers know that if they go to your website's going to be built and designed in a way and where, you put your best foot forward, right? And same with your social media accounts. Although social media accounts are a great way to show transparency, and the number of followers that you have creates kind of what we call social proof. This review profile inside of Google, through your Google business profile, has over the years become kind of like the primary social proof statement for who you guys are, for who your practice is. And one of the reasons why that's happened is because Google has been extremely careful about not allowing the reviews that get published here to be spammy, right? It's almost impossible to spam this, meaning you can't, and this happened years ago. This is, go back 10, 12, 15 years ago, right when we were first getting into this. There were lots, and not us, but there were lots of companies or people doing kind of shady things where they would create Google accounts and they would create hundreds of them. And they would go out and they would basically they would sell you reviews. You buy a service from them and they use all these spammy, bogus accounts to go out and review businesses to increase their review profile. Google caught onto that super, super quick, and that has pretty much been completely shut down. And the other thing about the reviews is it's almost, if you've ever got a negative review, it is almost impossible to get a review taken down. You can't go straight to Google and ask them, hey, somebody gave us a bad review, but they're not a patient of ours, or whatever it might be. It's almost impossible to get Google to remove the review. You have to go back to that consumer and have them change their review manually themselves. So what that's done is that's frustrating for a lot of practices, but it's created a kind of like a sense that you can't game the system, right? So when somebody sees your review profile, they know that it's legitimate. They know that it's not spammy. It's not just cherry picking the best reviews are showing up. Or anything like that. Another example is Yelp. Like, I know on the West Coast, Yelp is used a lot, but Yelp has kind of a jaded, a lot of people don't like Yelp because Yelp's algorithm will hide a lot of reviews that you get if you don't pay them for their paid model, right? You can have a free listing in Yelp, but then they try and upsell you to a paid model. And Yelp employees and Yelp will deny it to their death that they don't do this. But after talking to, 500 dentists that have used Yelp, this is what happens. You pay for the upgraded service, your best reviews show up at the top, or there's more better reviews that show up. So there's this sense that if you're looking at a Yelp profile from a consumer's perspective, that the reviews that they're looking there are not a really objective view of what the practice is. And frankly, some of you on the webinar tonight probably hate Yelp because you've been through this. So anyway, your review profile is a strong social proof statement for who you are, and it's trusted by consumers. Okay. So The reviews show up high in search on the search page. They show up towards the top. Most patients go to this section to find a local dentist, especially if they're looking for a new dentist, and they're trusted. That's why they're so valuable. Now, I'm going to talk to you about how this works, because showing up, how you show up in the Google map, like who can find you and when they find you and when you show up on the front page and when you're not on the front page, is kind of an interesting, kind of a weird situation. So I'm going to give you kind of an example of how this works, okay? So what you're looking at here on the screen is a screenshot of where I live. I live in Draper, Utah, which is south of Salt Lake, and I live in a house down at the bottom in that red circle. That's where I'm at right now. I'm in my podcast room, and I'm in that location. And what I did is I was at my home, I was here, and I did some searches for dentists from my house, okay? And I was looking at how these who would show up in this in the Google Maps section. Now, Google Maps only shows the top 3 listings on the front page of Google. So if you ask, who's the best dentist in LA or something like that, and you look at the Google map, there's only 3, there's an ad, you can run ads there, and then you have 3 organic listings or listings that Google pulls in that are not paid for, okay? So you can have a total of 4, but 3 organic ones. And if you're the fourth person, practice on the list, you're not on the front page. And the amount of traffic, the amount of phone calls and clicks that come from potential patients finding you on the front page versus number 4 or 5, which you have to go click deeper into the search results, it's like 90% of the people call one of those 3 practices that's in the top 3 searches or the top 3 results. So as I explain this and I show you how these results work, just remember, you've got to be in the top 3 to really get any kind of traffic, right? Any phone calls or clicks or whatever. All right, anyway, so with that said, I'm in my house, and the 4 closest dental practices to my house are these 4. To the back side of my house is a mountain range. It's the Wasatch Mountains, so there's nobody back there. So these 4 practices, Spangler and Tullis, Marcus, Welch, and Matthew Smile Dental, they're all about 4 to 4.5 miles away from my home. So they are the closest practices to where I'm sitting when I'm sitting in my house doing my searches. Now, what I did, and I don't know if you can see this very well because it's kind of small, but I did 8 searches. And I took a screenshot of just the Google Maps section and put it on this page and put them all together, okay? So the 8 searches that I did are dental cleaning near me, dental clinic near me, best dentist near me, dentist near me, dental implants near me, family dentist near me, emergency dentist near me, and dental crowns near me. 8 of the pretty high search, these are fairly high search terms, right? But notice I used near me in all of the search, the search query, right? So because I've got these 4 practices that are the 4 closest practices to me, and my searches are all saying near me, you would think that those 4 practices would show up fairly often in the search results, high up in the top 3. But the reality of it is that only one of those 4 showed up one time, Dr. Welch, and he doesn't even have any reviews, so nobody's going to call him. I should probably call Dr. Welch and find out what's going on. But they don't show up. So as I was looking through here, I found that there was one practice, Draper Parkway Dental, that showed up more than any of their other practices. They showed up 4 times in the top 3 results. Now, Draper Parkway Dental just happens to be 7.5 miles away from my practice, from my house, excuse me, getting mixed up thinking I'm a dentist. So I've got 4 practices super close. I've got this other practice That's 7.5 miles away. It's not the nearest practice to me, right? Obviously. So what is going on? Now think about this. What this means, and this is not uncommon for this to happen, okay? This is not like a specific situation. I've done this dozens of times for different practices, for employees here at my company to see how things are ranking for them. It is very common for practices that are actually further away from where the patient is searching to show up ahead of other practices that are closer to where you're searching from. So it sounds like kind of a glitch in the Google system that a patient would search near me and they're actually not getting the results for the nearest practice. They're getting practices that are actually further away. And yeah, it's kind of bizarre. I was actually startled when I saw this because I didn't think it would be this strong of a difference. I didn't think that I would see this, but it's very common. The reason why this is happening is because Draper Parkway Dental has optimized their Google business profile. So they've gone into the Google business profile and they've done some things to it, which I'm going to show you later. And what Google does is they see them as more authoritative. And so they just basically allow this practice to show up. They kind of leapfrog in terms of distance. They leapfrog ahead of other practices that are actually closer to where I'm searching from. Now, I want you to think about what this means. So if this was happening to you and you're, say, Matthew Smile Dental right there in the middle, what that means is that patients that are searching all around Matthew Smile Dental are not finding, and they're searching for near me terms, they're finding other practices that are actually further away. And we all know that like dental practices, depending on the size of your area, you've got about a 3 to 5 mile radius where you pull in 80 to maybe 95% of your patients. Now, if you're in the middle of Nebraska, yeah, you might be wider than that you pull in patients from, but in Southern California, it might even be tighter than that. It might even be a 1 mile radius. That's kind of your influential area. So it's super, super, super important that you can control and be found in your neighborhoods that are right around your practice. Those are most likely to be the patients that are going to come to your practice, are the ones that are close by. So this becomes like how to do this becomes like kind of important, right? You don't want a patient who lives, 500 yards away from your practice driving 3 miles to go see another practice. That's what's happening because the results in the Google map they're not heavily, I mean, they're influenced by location, but they're influenced more heavily by the optimization that you do on your Google business profile. Now, if you have questions, start dropping them in as I go through this, okay? So let me give you an example of how, a further example about how this kind of works, some visuals that'll help kind of make this make a little bit more sense. So this is VP Dental. They're a client of ours. They're near Raleigh, North Carolina. They just live a little bit north of Raleigh. I think they're probably about 5 to 10 miles above Raleigh, so just north, okay? And I did a search for dentist near me, and I used a tool, and I'll show you the tool here in a second, to help me understand where they're being found when people search dentist near me. Now, the key here is understanding that the results that show up for the patient when they're searching are heavily based on where that person is searching from. Okay, so think about it from the patient's perspective. Your patient's on their cell phone somewhere, they're at their home, they're searching, and the results that they see are specific to where they're looking from, their location. And Google knows that because of the GPS connection on their cell phone, if they're using their cell phone, or they can look at the internet connection if they're on a desktop. and they can identify where that person is searching from. So if if somebody's searching from their house and they search best dentist, who is the best dentist? They don't even need to say near me. Google can look at that search phrase and they're going to look at where that search is coming from, the coordinates, the latitude and longitude, and they're going to give results that are specific to where that person is looking from. Okay, so it's not just where your location is, where your practice is, it's what's showing up for the person in their home. And another example of this that kind of helps illustrate this is I talked to a doctor. I've actually had this conversation several times. And this is a doctor that was called in. They were looking for digital marketing services to help them find new patients. And we said, well, how are you doing? Do you know how well you're ranking on Google? Because we could do some search engine optimization for you and help you optimize your Google business profile. The doctor said, I don't need that. I show up #1 everywhere. I said, well, okay. Where were you searching from where were you doing those searches from? And the doctor said, I was in my office. I said, well, okay. If you're not showing up #1 in the Google Maps section, when you search from your office, you have a really big problem because Google is going to give you a result based on where you're searching from. And the Google Maps section has a heavy influence on those locations, where the practice is located and where the person is searching from. So I said, look, if you get out of your office and you go a mile north and do the same search, are you now still showing up #1? Right? And so we actually did this and everything, and he ended up kind of understanding how it works. But you have to kind of flip it on your head a little bit and think about that the results aren't the same when you look from your office or you look from, a mile north or south or east or west. And this slide here is explaining kind of how that works. So we've got VP Dental in the middle, and that this lady up here is kind of north, about 1.5 miles from their office, northwest. If I were standing at her location and I pulled my phone out and I searched dentist near me, the search phrase that we've got up at the top here, VP Dental shows up #2. They're the second listing in the Google Maps, so they're on the front page. But if I go 1.5 miles southeast and I do the same search, VP Dental is 13th. Now they're the same distance from the practice, okay? Just in different directions. So what that tells you is it's not you're not ranking in an exact circumference around your practice. Like you might rank well north or east or south or west, but not rank as well in another direction. The reason that she doesn't rank as well going south is because if you go south, you run into Raleigh. So that it's a more dense population. There's actually more dentists. And so it becomes more competitive. So she gets pushed out of the rankings and she drops in the rankings quickly the closer you get to Raleigh. Okay. And there's a lot of factors that play into how this works, like where you rank and where you don't rank, but density of population and competition is a big piece, okay? So the question becomes, as you're thinking about this, where are we ranking, right? If you know of a new development or there's a particular area, neighborhood around you, and like we want patients from that area, you can actually find out if you're being found by patients in the area by driving over there and doing a search. Okay. But that's kind of a dumb way to do it. And there's a better way to do it. The better way to do it is to use a piece of software. We use a software that basically runs a heat map. So this is what we call a heat map. Okay. And the way that this works is in the center of this little heat map under the #2, that's where their practice is located. Okay. So, and the search phrase is dentist near me. You can see that up top where it says search term dentist near me. Now, what the tool does is it runs that report. It runs a search from where the practice is located, and then it looks in the search results and it says, oh, they're #2, and in the reports. And so if it's a dot and it says 2, that means the practice ranks #2 for that term at that location. Okay. Now, then what the tool does is it goes 1/2 mile north, south, east, and west and does the same search. So every single one of these dots is a half a mile away from the other dot. So the total heat map here is about 3.5 miles-ish. Corners are probably closer to 4 miles. And it gives you a map of where people are finding you for that particular search term. So you can go, oh, okay. Yeah, nobody's finding us in that particular neighborhood for that search term. And then you can, from there, you can come up with strategies to help you rank better in that area, which we can talk about. So these heat maps are extremely helpful rather than you driving around town trying to figure out where you're ranking and where you're not ranking. You just run these heat maps and you can see where you're ranking for certain phrases. Each heat map is different when you run it for a different keyword. So this is the same practice. This is VP Dental, dentist near me. This is for cosmetic dentist. Now it's totally green. They're ranking #1 everywhere. They actually rank in the top 3, even wider than this little heat map. So look at that. That's for dentist. This is for cosmetic dentist. Now, the reason why they rank so well for cosmetic dentist and not dentist is because they didn't want to rank for dentist. They're an established practice. They've been around for, I don't know, 25 years. They didn't need more patients. They needed valuable patients. They wanted cosmetic patients. So when we started doing the optimization, we focused primarily on cosmetic dental services. So that's the difference how you can influence how a practice ranks based on the optimization strategy. A practice can rank for, I mean, you can't rank for every keyword well everywhere. I've yet to talk to a practice that ranks on the top of Google search like this for like 10 or 20 keywords. Usually what you can do is you can kind of hone the strategy so that you rank really, really well for like 3 to 5 super valuable keywords. And then you kind of like run out of juice at some point. It might be more. It could be 7 or 8 keywords, but you end up, once you've done that though, the amount of patience that you end up getting is you'll be happy. There's just, you end up, if you could rank for really, really well for like 5, 6, 7 keywords, you're going to generate, especially in SoCal, you're going to generate dozens, if not close to maybe 70, 80, 90 patients a month just from people finding you in the map. So here's another example of kind of how this works. The only problem I'll say about this is it takes some time. This doesn't happen overnight. So an early conversation that we have when a practice comes to us and they want to find they want more new patients is how quick do you got to do this? And if they're like, we need patients now, this is not the strategy to do it. It takes months to kind of get to the point where you start ranking better. Ads might be a better strategy if you need patients now. They cost more, right? You have to pay Google, more money to be in the ad section, but you can start seeing results quickly. So this is an example of that practice, VP Dental, and a year-long optimization for the keyword family dentist, okay? So on the left, when we started, I ran that heat map for them for family dentist, and that was what I got. They weren't ranking anywhere. If it has a little red dot with a white X, that means they're not even in the top 20 listings. They're really deep down. We stopped counting at 20. We just say, if you've gone to 20, we're going to stop counting. So we started the optimization process and I checked it again in 6 months, and you can see how they start ranking kind of right around their practice. So on the 180-day result, they're ranking #4 if you're right outside their practice. So they're still not on the front page, but about a half a mile around them, they're starting to be found in like the 2nd or 3rd position. Okay. Another 6 months, and you can start seeing it's growing. It's growing slowly, but it is growing. And now they're being found pretty well within about a half a mile to a mile-ish. Okay. Now, what does this mean? we tracked this, okay? And now consider the area that they're in. They're in North Raleigh. It's not super, super dense. It's not like SoCal, but it's an urban area. And I mean, there's they're in the suburbs and whatnot. And they were able to from this keyword, just this one, the improvement from day 1 to day 365 was about 5 to 10 additional patients a month, scheduled patients for this keyword. So going back to like, what could this do for you long term? It could be huge, right? Like if you're ranking well for like 5 or 6 keywords and they're high value keywords, cosmetic, implants, perio, prosto, crowns, smile makeovers, things like that, and you're able to get 40 or 50 new patients a month, run the numbers in your head and see what this can do. It can be the engine for all of your new patient leads. It's just, you get there and it's really, really hard. Once you start start popping up onto the front page, it's hard for you to bump down. In the same way that it takes a while to get there, but once you're there, it's very difficult to push you out. So it's kind of like buying real estate on the front page of Google. It's kind of how you look at it, okay? All right, enough about what it is. Hopefully you've got that idea and concept is kind of wrapped up together. I will mention, if any of you want me to run these heat maps for you, I will run them for you. That QR code goes to a form that comes to me. If you tell me which keywords you want me to run, and it'll ask for your website URL so I can see where you're located, I will run these reports, however many you want, and I'll send them to you, and then we can talk about it if you want to talk about it, okay? So this is like the first place to start when you're thinking about, do we do SEO or not? You need to find out if you're already ranking well in maps or not. So I'd be happy to do this. Just fill out the form and it'll come to me and I'll get it done this next week. All right, how to optimize. Number 1, you have to check the category or the categories of your listing. And I'm going to lose some of you here. And so I'm just going to tell you right now that if this does not make sense, I want you to shoot me an email and I'll jump on a call with you for 5-10 minutes and we'll figure it out. Okay. But I'm going to give you what you need to do. I'm just not going to walk you through all the steps of how to do it because it might take us too long to do that. We won't have enough time. So the first thing you have to do is you have to have Google Maps. Let's say you're on your phones right now. You have to download Google Maps. If you have an Android phone, it's on your phone. If you have an iPhone, you have to download it. The one on the left is Google Maps. The one on the right is Apple Maps. They are not the same thing, okay? We're not talking about ranking high in Apple. We're talking about ranking high in Google, where they control 92% of all the search traffic. So you have to have Google Maps on your phone. Once you've got Google Maps on your phone, you open it up and you search the name of your practice. So this is a little screen grab of my phone when I searched my social practice. And I circled the primary category for my company, a marketing agency. It lists your primary category right there so everybody can see. If you're a general dentist, you want it to be dentist. If you're an orthodontist, you want it to be orthodontist. If you're a prosthodontist, you want it to be prosthodontist. Just name the category of the type of doctor that you are. So for Dr. Safa, endodontist, prosthodontist, perio, whatever, I know you do a lot of those specialties. So that's your primary category. The categories you can't just type them in there. You have to choose from a predetermined list that Google gives you. These are all of the categories in the Google database that you can choose from. There's only about 18 or 19 of them. And you can kind of see some of them won't apply, like dental radiology, dental supply store over on the right. Those don't even apply. There's really maybe about 10 or 12 that you're looking at to decide, what your primary category is. So my strong recommendation is that you call it, if you're a GP, you're a dentist. Now, I showed you VP Dental earlier, and they weren't ranking well for dentists. They were ranking well for cosmetic dentists. And one of the reasons why they ranked well for cosmetic dentists is because we set their primary category as a cosmetic dentist, not dentist. So it was one of the things that we did to help them rank better. So, but that's a decision that you have to make based on where you're at in the life cycle of your business. At some point, you may not want just more new patients. You want certain types of patients. And so you might want to switch to cosmetic dentist, or you might want your primary category to be emergency dental service if you're focused on emergency patients or something like that. Okay. So choose your primary category carefully. And here's some examples of why this is so important. So this is the same practice. Their primary category is cosmetic dentist, Lakeside Dental. Their primary category is cosmetic dentist. I ran a report on the left for cosmetic dentist and a report on the right for dentist. This is not a client of ours. We didn't do any optimization, and I don't believe they had done any optimization, but you can see very clearly that the primary category has a heavy influence on the search phrase. So if your primary category is cosmetic dentist and somebody is searching for a cosmetic dentist, you rank really, really well. They rank easily a mile and a half more in a circumference around their practice for cosmetic dentist than they do for dentist. Okay, so you can see how that influences your actual rankings. Okay, and the primary category is the most important category. You can actually have multiple categories, but the second category, third are always looked at by Google as being kind of subcategories. They always look at this primary category as the number one most important category. So here's an example. My recommendation, you can put in, I think, like, when you get into the editing panel inside of your Google business profile, and this is the problem that I usually run into when I do live events, is that most people don't even know how to get into the Google business profile. If you don't know how to get into it, to edit it, okay, if you just like, I don't know how to do it, I want you to shoot me an email. I am happy to jump on with any of you for a few minutes. I'll walk you through it really quick, and don't spend hours getting frustrated figuring out how to try and do it. I've got some tricks, and I'll show you how to do it really quick. But once you get into the editing panel and you get to the category section, you can add a second or third category. I recommend that you do not put more than 3. I've tested it. The more you put on there, it doesn't mean you rank better for those keywords. You actually kind of like make it all kind of like super milk toasty, like limp, and it doesn't do anything. So my recommendation is 2, 3 if you have to. So an idea would be, if you're a GP and your primary category is dentist, but you also offer cosmetic services, maybe you put cosmetic dentist as your secondary category, and emergency dental service is your third category. Okay, that's one example. So that's my email. Okay, I want you to call me. Like I've said several times, every time I do a presentation, I look at the crowd and they're lost, and I never get an email. I'm not going to sell you anything. I'm happy to help. So shoot me an email if you're stuck and say, I need help with my Google business profile. We'll schedule a call. Okay. All right. So those are the first things that you have to look at when you're optimizing your Google business profile. Okay. That's one of the first things. It's your category. The second thing you want to do is update your service areas. So you can update the service areas when you can get in and edit, okay? And on a phone, it looks like this. You're logged in, you can edit, you click on this edit profile button, and then it takes you to that second screen there. You click on business information, and then you click on location, and you get to this service areas section. Now, inside of the profile, you can put up to 20 service areas. 20. I have yet to log in to a dental practice's Google business profile and see more than 1 or 2 or 3. Google knows that a dentist draws patients in from an area, okay? And so they let you add up to 20 areas where you draw patients in from. So you want to fill it out. You want to make sure you list all of the areas that you're drawing patients in from. But I'm going to give you a little trick here on how and which areas to focus on. So this is VP Dental again, okay? This is their heat map for dentist near me. So let's say that this is your heat map for dentist near me. You're in the center, you're ranking fourth. Oh no, this is the one from this is for family dentist. And you want to rank better for family dentist. And maybe you find that some of the other heat maps that you've run are kind of similar to this, right? Maybe I ran family dentist, best dentist, kids dentist, general dentist, and they all kind of look similar. And if that's the case, it gives you kind of a sense of how Google's seeing your entire profile for multiple keywords. I see this often when I run all these heat map reports. But let's say that you want to improve family dentist. What you're going to do is you're going to look at the area where you fall off the front page. So you're looking at where it goes from green to yellow. And you find those areas that are right around where you've lost front page position. And those are the areas you put in the service areas in your Google business profile. Okay. I have a practice, just started working with them a few months ago, just south of San Francisco. They're kind of between San Francisco and San Jose. They're probably 25 miles away from San Jose. Is that right? San Francisco, San Jose? I believe it's San Jose. Anyway, I looked at their profile, and somebody had worked on another marketing company had worked on their profile, and they put all these San Jose key service areas. They're never going to show up on Google Maps 25 miles away, not in that area. It's too populated. They were falling off the map about a half a mile to a mile away from their practice. So we changed all of that. We went and removed all the San Jose service areas. They were thinking if I just put San Jose in there, I'll show up in San Jose. It's not how it works. You want to look at where you're losing rankings, and you're going to put those service areas in to give Google a little heads up. Hey, I want to draw patients from this area, and it just happens to be a little bit outside of where I'm ranking on the front page. Okay. So that's how you do this. And you run these heat maps every 6 months or so to see how it's changed, because you'll start growing and it'll start building out, and you change those service areas. You keep pushing them out and out and out as you go. That's how you do it. Okay. So this is just an example, the heat map and the service areas being put in on the right. I'll run the heat maps. You need to run the heat maps in order to even start this whole process. So if you didn't fill out that QR code before, please send me that. I'll get the heat maps written for you, and then you can understand if you even need to do anything. You might be ranking really, really well, and you don't need to do anything. Okay. All right. That's the first section. Now, what I want to do here is I want to stop for a half a second, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see the Q&A and see if I have any questions. Just give me 1 second. Let's see. Hi. Oh, Megan, how you doing? We met last year. Let's see. Q&A. Let's see if there's any Q&A. There are no Q&As. All right. You guys have all heard this before, or you're super embarrassed about asking a question. I'll give you guys a half a second. Do you have any questions about that? If you don't, we're going to move on to the next section. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, Alexis, if you see any questions come in, you can stop me, but let's go ahead and move on to the next section. I'm starting to feel a little bit nervous.
One actually came in.
Oh.
It says anybody in the practice can update the info, like I guess in regards to the SEO with the service areas.
That's a really good question. Okay, and I'm so glad somebody asked a question, because I was going to think that you're all like not paying attention and drinking wine and chilling as the sun set, and you're not listening to me, but somebody is, so I'm happy. All right. So in the Google Business Profile, you can set up owners and managers. Okay. The owner should always be the individual that owns the company. Okay, that owns the practice. So if it's a single practice, one dentist, he or she should be the owner of the listing that basically owns or can manage the Google business profile. Okay. If you have multiple doctors that own the practice, you can have multiple owners. Then you can assign manager roles to anybody that you'd like. And a manager can go in and edit and update, but they just can't take control of the listing. And ownership is very important. If you do this, let's say that you're going to sell your practice in 5 or 6, 7 years down the road. That's the plan. If you spent the next couple years really working on this and doing the optimization, and you get to the point where you're generating 40, 50, 60, 70 patients a month just from Google Maps, you're going to be selling a marketing engine with your practice. There's significant value to that. It's not just your current active base of patients. You could also show numbers of phone calls that come from your Google business profile and schedule appointments, and you're selling off a marketing engine. Okay. It makes your practice more valuable. And when you do that, if you're the owner, you basically give them your Google business profile listing and you switch ownership at that time. They can change the name, but they keep all the reviews and blah, 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 and they move on. And that listing still ranks. It doesn't make sense for a dentist to sell their practice and shut down their Google business profile, because the amount of effort and work that it's going to take a new owner to build that back up will take years. So it's an asset that you can include in the sale of your practice. And you don't want anybody that's not you to own that listing. You don't want a marketing company to own it. You don't want your front desk person to own it, because if they get mad at you and they quit, they can hijack the listing. You can't get it back. There's all sorts of weird stuff that can happen. So owners own the listing. Manager positions can be anybody. So Dr. Safa, if he owns the practice listing for his 5 locations, he can make Alexis, he can make you a manager. So you could get in there and you can make edits. Or he could give me access as a manager, because you can have multiple managers that I can go in and edit. So it gives you the ability to have multiple people that can get access to it, but you don't want to give ownership over to somebody other than the owner of the practice. Hopefully that, is
Gotcha.
that good?
Yes. We actually have another question.
Thanks.
Uh, so I'm assuming a doctor is asking, we keep getting a call that Google business listing is not accurate. What is it that they're calling exactly for? Like, what are the
A
details that they're
marketing
looking at?
That's a marketing company, probably, unless unless it's coming from Google. So can you ask them really quick if when they get that, is it, I assume it's an email that's coming through. If it's an email coming through and it has the Google logo on it and the URL, where it's been sent from is a google.com email, it's from Google. But if it's not, it's a sneaky marketing tactic. I get them
Okay.
all the time. Okay.
Yeah, they said it was a phone call, so
It's
I'm
just
assuming it's just
Google
a
doesn't.
marketing tactic.
It's a marketing company that's probably spamming you. Google does not
Yes.
make phone calls. You can't even
Okay.
get a hold of them when you try, when you want them to call you. You can't even get a hold of the
Yeah.
marketing company. I would be suspicious of whatever it is. They're probably trying to sell you something. For sure.
Yes. So we have another question from Maria del Carmen.
Yeah.
She's asking, what is the recommended rating to start up with the heat maps or to start putting our office out there through the heat maps?
When you say recommended rating, are you talking about the review rating or the number of reviews that you've got? What do you mean by the rating? Just clarify that for me really quick so I can answer it appropriately.
It will have to wait. Review rating.
Okay, good question. Um, there have been a bunch of consumer studies on the review rating, not specific to dentistry, but just consumer consumer confidence related to review ratings. Consumers will not or start losing trust if you're below 4.4 to 4.3. You want to shoot for a minimum of a 4.5 review rating. And you want to have, in terms of the total number, so 4.5 or higher is what you should shoot for, okay? And the total number of reviews that you have is a little bit based on the area that you're in. In SoCal, my guess is you probably need at least a couple hundred reviews to appear competitive with the other practices out there. An easy way to kind of like, what you don't want to do is you don't want to be found in the Google Maps and you've got 57 reviews and the next Dr. Dow's got 570, because you're just not going to be chosen. So what you want to look is you want to look at the practices that are kind of around you, that are close by, and you want to kind of get an average of how many reviews they have, and that's what you're shooting for. You're shooting for kind of in the average, or if you want to be a gangster, you try and get more than anybody else. And there's a whole bunch of strategies about getting reviews and ways to do that that I have not included in this presentation, but I'm happy to talk to anybody about how to do it. There's some really simple ways to get lots of reviews. It requires the team involvement, which is always a pain because the team's never got any time. But if it's a priority and you want to pick up 100 or 200 reviews pretty quick, I can show you how to do it. Okay. Do you think that answers the question?
I think it does.
Okay.
So far, no more questions. I think we're good to move forward. And if any other questions come up, please feel free to put them in.
Alexis, you just cut me off if you get questions. I'm, jumping out of the screen share and then finding the Q&As. Like my cursor disappears and I can't find that.
Oh, I'll jump out
You
and
just
ask
jump
you
in
at
and
any
go.
moment. Don't worry.
All right, now we're going to talk about AI overviews. This is totally new stuff, okay? This is kind of freaking wild and super exciting or terrifying to people. But I just wrote an ebook about this section. And at the end of this, I'll give you a QR code so you can download it. So search engine optimization we are right now in the middle of a huge upheaval in how your practice is found in search. So what's happening is Google, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Grok, Claude, those are the top maybe 4 or 5 large language models, or AIs, okay? Consumers in the last, ChatGPT just launched like 2.5 years ago. That's when it hit the public, okay? In that time, ChatGPT is now getting like 100, let's say, I can't remember the exact number. I can't remember if it's 100 million or like 1 billion searches a day. And a lot of the searches, anyway, it's an astronomical number in just this short period of time. When you take a look at the ChatGPT interactions, the chats and the questions that are coming through in ChatGPT, and you look at Google Gemini, Perplexity, Claude, and Grok, which are all the main kind of large language models, there is a huge shift in the way that patients are finding information or consumers are finding information. I don't even use Google search anymore. I have ChatGPT on my phone and I open it up and I ask ChatGPT a question and I 99% of the time get exactly what I want. And if any of you have not done that, or any of you have started using AI to do search, you know exactly what I mean. It's so simple. It's so quick and the results are just dead on. So there's this huge shift in the way that consumers are searching. They're not using traditional search. They're starting to use AI. And because of this, there's a few acronyms that have kind of come out that are a kind of a twist on search engine optimization. So for the last 20 years, SEO, search engine optimization, kind of what we've been talking about with the Google Maps, is now being influenced by artificial intelligence. And so they're calling it GEO or AEO. It's just a bunch of goofy acronyms, but you're going to start hearing these acronyms. AEO stands for Answer Engine Optimization, and GEO stands for Generative Engine Optimization. They're the same thing. These two acronyms are kind of competing as the new acronym for SEO. Okay. And the reason they're changing is because AI is fundamentally shifting the way that your practice is going to be found. So the way that SEO has worked in the past is somebody goes to their computer or on their phone and they type in best dentist in LA, whatever, right? They type that in or they type it in on their computer. And it's a short phrase, best dentist in LA, California, or best dentist in some city, right? That's a typical search phrase. That is not happening as much anymore. People are searching through voice search on their phones, and they're also speaking to their computers because every computer now has dictation where you can go to a website or go to Google and hit your dictation and just talk to your computer, and you don't even type anymore. Okay, we're moving from a technology where we have to type our information in to just speaking to our computers, and that's a big shift that's happening right now as well. So what's happening is the actual search phrase is shifting. Search phrases are getting longer. So rather than somebody going and typing in best dentist in LA, California, they're searching, hey Alexa, or hey ChatGPT, I'm looking for a really great dentist near town that accepts Aetna and has a really great review profile. That's the search phrase. They call them long tail search phrases. Okay. So the search phrase is changing from a typed in search phrase to a voice search phrase, and the AI is kicking out different responses. So right now, up until just a couple months ago, when you did a search on Google, you'd type in or you'd talk to it and you'd put your search phrase in, and Google would give you a result, and there'd usually be ads at the top, the map, and then your website results. Okay. And the way that Google kicked out that result is through a simple matching of the query to your website or to a blog post. So if I say best dentist in LA, California, Google would then search the web, look at websites, and see which websites are optimized for best dentist in LA, California. And there's a whole huge algorithm that they would use to do that. So when you would hire an SEO company to help you rank better, their job was to optimize your website as well as your Google business profile, because we've talked about that. But their job is to make sure your website shows up when that search phrase is searched, right? And so there are things you can do to the website. You can tweak it, you can add metadata, you can build links, you can write copy. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do, okay? That is fundamentally changing because now Google's putting what are called AI overviews at the top of the page. If you've been on Google in the last couple months and you did a search, most often you get an AI overview result. You don't see the ads at the top. The ads are pushed down the page. In some pages, there's not even any ads anymore, which is causing there's a whole upheaval in the ads market right now because ads are being removed from the top of the page. They're putting AI overviews in there. And the reason that Google's put their AI overviews up there and not their ads anymore, because their ads are worth, I think their ad product is worth like $1.7 trillion. That's how much value is in Google ads because everybody's been buying ads, right? They've removed that from the top of the page and they put the AI overviews in because Google recognizes that consumers are leaving Google and going to ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity to do searches because they get better results. So right now, Google's like, frankly, shit, what do we do? So they have removed ads and they put these AI overviews in, which is powered by their large language model called Gemini. So Gemini is just like ChatGPT, but Google owns it. Okay. So if you've seen the AI overviews, they're different. There's no paid advertising in there. And it comes out as a natural kind of like narrative response. So if I search who's the best dentist in Southern California near blah, 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 that has a great review profile and does cosmetic dentistry, what the AI overviews do is they don't use the traditional search model. They don't take that phrase and go look at a website and say, is this website optimized for this phrase? That's not what it's doing. It's not pulling in your website. The way that the AI overviews work is, okay, so you've got the AI overviews, which is basically the description of that section. It's just called the overview powered by AI. Google's AI is called Gemini. And what Gemini does is that it sees the search phrase, and then it looks across the web for chunks of information. So it looks for maybe a paragraph in a blog post on a website that answers the question. And it grabs that chunk and it pulls it in, and then it grabs another chunk from somewhere else and it pulls it in, grabs another chunk and it pulls it in, and it assimilates all this information. It's not grabbing your entire website. It's grabbing something that's been written that's directly related to the question. It brings it in, and then Gemini spins it up and spits out a response. So the response that comes out is Gemini assimilating all this information into its own AI response. And then what it does is it has citations inside the AI overview, okay? And the citations are relevant to where it grabbed a chunk of information. It's fundamentally different than just ranking your website for best dentist in LA, because the search phrases are getting longer, and the AI has the ability to get really detailed in the way that it responds. If you've used it, you'll notice that it's actually a better result. It's easier to get the information from AI overviews than it is to click to a website and see if that website actually answers your question. So the AI overviews are kind of taking over, okay? Now, why is this important? If Google continues to put their AI overviews at top, which they probably will continue to do that, it pushes everything else down on the search result, okay? Google Maps goes lower, organic links to your website, they're way down. And this heat map on the left is a heat map that's a pretty close heat map of how all consumers interact with a search result. If it's in the top left-hand corner, they interact with it really quick, but if you have to scroll down, you lose them. So what's happening is adding that AI overview to the top of the search engine is killing clicks to websites. It's killing the ad product because there's no more ads there, and you're not getting clicks to your website, right? So just trying to get people to come to your website it's dropping off the face of a cliff right now. All the statistics are showing that consumers are getting their answer in the AI overviews. So what this change from SEO to GEO or AEO is the strategy of how in the world do I get chunks of information from my website to show up as a citation in the AI overviews. That's the shift. Because you're not optimizing the same way. I mean, there's a lot of the stuff, the SEO strategy stuff that's the same. You got to make sure your website's wicked fast. It doesn't have broken links. It's got to have the right information on it and whatnot. But you're writing the content in a different way in order to show up, to be relevant, so that Google Gemini sees the search phrase, looks at your website, checks all your blog articles and goes, oh, there's a little piece of copy that answers this question. I'm going to pull it into the AI overview and cite it. So on the right here, in this image, this is just a screen grab of pediatric dentist open Saturdays. And that's not the whole search phrase. I actually put Salt Lake City, Utah in there, but just ignore the fact that it doesn't have the whole search phrase. And you see this AI overview took up my whole page. I had to scroll down to even get to the Google map, okay? And notice on the right, there are 3 cited websites. And those cited websites are relative to that first block of copy. So it says determining the best dentist is subjective and depends on individual needs and preferences. However, several highly regarded dentists in Salt Lake City, Utah are consistently mentioned for their expertise and patient care. Some top rated options include War Dental, Foothill Dental, Avenues Dental, and Salt Lake Dental. And you can see over here on the right, you've got 3 of those practices cited. So what happened here is Google saw the query, went out, grabbed a bunch of information, created its own response, and then cited relevant companies based on based on where Google sees as being an authority, a dental authority in the area. Okay, so it's just like this is kind of like probably boring to most of you, but like it is like flipping search on its head. So you have to, if you want to do SEO, if you want to get into the citations in the AI overviews, if you want to be found on ChatGPT or Perplexity or Grok, which are all these huge AI large language models, they're all doing it the same way. They're reaching out, they're fanning out these AI models, they're grabbing chunks of information, assimilating their own response, and then citing where they got it from. They're not just linking to your website because it's best dentist in LA. They want a specific response to the query because the queries are becoming more voice search oriented. They're becoming longer. And as consumers and your potential patients start using voice search more, they're going to become, queries are going to become more and more intricate, right? You're going to ask Alexa, hey, Alexa, I think I broke my tooth, or I haven't been in for a cleaning in a while. I can't remember the dentist that I went to a couple of years ago, but I need to find a really good dentist, somebody that's got really good review profile, that accepts Aetna, and somebody within 3 or 4 miles of where I'm located. That's the search phrase when you're speaking to a computer. Okay, so they're moving in that direction. They're trying to get the AI models to be able to understand that complexity, and giving an answer to that complexity in a search phrase. You can't just get it from one website. That's why the AI models are being used for this. Okay. All right. So I'm kind of talking about this page. So let me go to I talked about voice search. So here's some tips. Okay. Now there's a lot of tips with GEO or AEO. Okay. But these are some that you should be aware of, that that you can do, or you should know about if you're gonna try and make an effort to start showing up in the AI overviews or on any of the large language models. The first thing is you have to have a blog. Okay. And everybody's like, oh, a lot of you don't even have blogs. I already know. And those of you that do have blogs don't want to do it. I know. Okay. Blogging is a pain in the butt, and unfortunately, it is a primary way in which to create content that will be relevant for an AI overview or for any of the large language models. Okay. So, and you have to write it in a specific way, which I'm going to kind of give you some examples, or I'll kind of explain some of the ways you write it here. Okay. Blogging is so extremely valuable. And the reality of it is your patients are probably rarely going to read your blog. Like, who reads dental blogs? Maybe other dentists, possibly, right? Patients rarely read them, but they're fodder. They're just feeding the search results. And they're extremely good at showing up in the citations for AI overviews, because you can make a blog post specifically about certain terms or certain search phrases. So if you have a marketing company that you're working with, you need, and they're not writing blog content, they need to be writing blog content. It's like fundamental. It's like going to a dentist that doesn't do cleanings. You have to be blogging. Okay. So that's the first thing. And how much you blog really depends on where you're located Where you guys are located, to stay competitive, it's going to be at least twice a month, if not once a week. So if you got a really, really excited team member who went to school for English and realized that there's no jobs in English, but they can write, put them on the blogging, put them on blogging, and have them read some of the stuff that we've written about, some of the articles that we've written about how to blog for AEO and GEO. 2, you have to add FAQs to your service pages and your blog posts. So most people don't do this, but it is kind of like a direct way in which to rank well for long search phrases. So as I've given you these examples about what a long search phrase is, like a voice search phrase versus, say, typing in best dentist in LA, if you add FAQs to the bottom of a blog article or a service page about cosmetic dentistry, you can make those FAQs these long search phrases, right? And it's an easy way to create a chunk of information that could relate to a typical long tail search phrase. So let's say you write an article about dental implants. I don't know, whatever. Okay. You write the article about dental implants, the implants you provide, why they're important, how to, when you might want to consider one, so on and so forth. And at the bottom, you add 5 FAQs that basically have these long tail search phrases, and you answer them directly. And when somebody searches for some long phrase like, I went in to get an implant, like, Alexa, I went in to get an implant a year ago. I couldn't afford it. I think I want to go back, but I don't like the dentist I was with. I need to find a new dentist that does implants, that takes Medicaid or whatever. I don't know. Okay. So that's a search phrase, right? So down at the bottom of your article, if that's a search phrase that's highly, or something similar to that is often searched, and there's a way to figure out what long tail search phrases are being searched and not. That's another conversation. You just write that in as the question. You put the search phrase that somebody's probably going to ask as one of your questions, and you answer it. And so the AI sees that, grabs that chunk, and pulls it into the AI overview. Okay, so FAQs. 3, it has to be custom. You can't copy and paste anything. You can't even go into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, write me an article about dental implants, and copy and paste it. The stuff is, there's so much of that going on that it has to be written from you. It has to be your voice. Now, that doesn't mean you can't use an AI tool like ChatGPT or Claude to help you write something. You just can't copy and paste it in. It just doesn't work. Google recognizes that stuff immediately. They have AI detectors, and there's just hundreds of millions of pages being created by AI and published online, thinking that they're going to get picked up in the search results, but Google recognizes it. So if you're going to use AI to help you write something, you need to go through a process of, like, maybe using it to help you write an initial draft, but you've got to go in there and you've got to add some personality to it, the tone of your practice, and so on and so forth. So it's got to be custom. Content variety. In any way possible, in your blog posts or on your service pages, you want to have something more than text. If you can shoot a little video, or you can get a testimonial, or you can create an image, snap a photo with your phone and add that photo to the page because it's relevant to the page that you're writing about. If you can add there's a way to take an article that you've written and run it through a software, and it'll give you a podcast. So you have 2 people talking about the article. If anybody wants to know how to do it, I'll show you how to do it. Just shoot me an email. So you can add all this to the page, so it gives it context. It kind of builds it out, gives more ways in which people can absorb the information. Okay, so that's important. And then you want to add a bio. A bio. The reason why you want to add a bio is one of the ways that Google looks at your practice and sees you as an authority is through a principle called EEAT. I forgot the first E. It just skipped my mind. It's expertise, authority, trustworthiness, but I can't remember the other T. E. Shoot. Maybe I'm not doing my job very well. It's probably my brain is just slow. Anyway, there's a principle called EEAT, which is a way in which Google looks at your content and assigns an authority score to it. And that authority score is part of the algorithm, and it's part of the AI algorithm as well. So if you add a bio to the stuff that you write, and you're the doctor or you're the office manager, and you say, I'm an office manager, this is who I am, I've been in the business for 20 years, blah, blah, blah. Google sees that and it applies some authority to your article. So you want to add bios. And then you want to do ethical info sourcing, which means don't buy links, link out to relevant sources. So if you are writing an article and you find something on the ADA or the California, the CDA site, California Dental Association, there's an article relevant to what you're writing and you link to it so it provides additional value. That linking out to relevant sources is helpful. You don't want to link to some like weird site that's like a spammy site that has some junk on it. You want to link to industry specific or medical specific articles and information that show Google and the other large language models that you're actually referencing correct material. Okay. So those are 6 things that need to be done when you create content. Now, for some of you, a lot of you, you're not even going to want to do this, okay? You're going to want to probably hire somebody because you don't have the time, or maybe you do have a marketing manager that can spend time on it, but here's the questions you want to ask to know whether or not the person you're talking to knows what the hell they're talking about, okay? Simple questions. 1, do you optimize for AI? So if you called me and you said you're going to hire me to do your SEO, you want to ask me this question, okay? Do you optimize, Adrian, for AI? I would say something like, yes, we write copy for your practice that is, and I can't see it because there's an image over the top of it, that is focused on optimizing chunks of information which AI looks for to include in their responses, okay? Kind of how I've described how this works. I'm giving you a response that knows I kind of know how it works, okay? Do you track my AI results? Yes, we track how often your citations show up in the AI overviews and can provide reporting. Okay, so if that's the response from a local person or your employee or another marketing company, you know you're talking to somebody who's up on this stuff. Do you include FAQs when you write for my practice? Yes, we understand that voice search is a big part of GEO, and the best way to optimize for voice search is by including FAQs, kind of like we've described. What else do you do to optimize for AI search? We do everything that you would do normally in traditional SEO, for example, technical SEO, but we focus writing your copy so that it gets picked up by AI. So if it's just as simple as knowing what questions to ask to filter through, to find the right help, those are just some quick examples of what you can do, okay? All right, I'm gonna take questions now, but before I do, this is the ebook that I wrote. I cover everything and more that we've talked about in this section. I would get this and read it, okay? So there's the ebook. And while you're doing that, Alexis, is there anybody that asked any questions about this? This
Yes.
stuff?
Maria del Carmen asked again, does it make a difference if, let's say, our office is mentioned on an article in the city's website or has like YouTube videos?
So she's saying, does it help? Let me make sure I understand. Does it help her practice get picked up? Does it help in the SEO or GEO or AEO, whatever,
Mhm.
if there's an article at the
On the city's website.
site linking to them? Absolutely. Absolutely helps. That's called an inbound linking strategy. And the more that you can get local, either local companies to talk about you or industry specific organizations to talk about you and mention you and link to your website, that tells Google you're an authority.
So
So
it would still need to be linked on her website to
no,
say that we're mentioned on the city of Pasadena's
no,
website, for example, or
Google's going to see that there's in the city of Pasadena, in whatever site that is, right?
uh-huh.
It's the city's site, and there's an article on there that talks about your practice. there needs to be a link in there that goes to the practice. So it would say
Mm.
mariasdentalpractice.com. You have the
Okay.
link.
Mm-hmm.
Google sees the link. I mean, they see the copy, but the link is the primary way in which Google tracks where you're mentioned. So if you have an article written and there's no link to your website, then Google may not recognize it. They probably will, but they probably won't. Well, I shouldn't say that. They may, but they probably won't. Okay. So what you want is you want to do exactly that. You want to go to the city of Pasadena and you want to get an article there. You want to go to your state association and see if they'll publish an article about something. And in there, mention your practice, link to your practice, or have a bio that says, Dr. Safa, uh, doctor at endox.com, or I forgot the name of your website, but anyway, it links to it, right? So Google starts
Mm-hmm.
seeing all of these relevant, industry relevant, or local legitimate companies having articles that are linking to you. That is a fundamental SEO strategy, and that is not being lost in the whole GEO AEO thing. That is essential to letting Google know that you are an authority. And if you have lots of that, when in terms of the AI overviews, if you have a really good inbound linking strategy, you're going to get picked up more in the citations for the AI overviews, flat out. Okay, so that's not something that goes away in this kind of shift to AI overviews. It's still there. So good question.
Gotcha. What about like YouTube videos?
Yeah,
Like if the practice has their own YouTube videos on YouTube, does
yeah,
that also affect?
yeah. It does, because YouTube videos will show up in YouTube search, which is the second highest search engine behind Google search. YouTube's the next one. Actually, I think there might be more searches on YouTube than on Google.
Oh,
I have to
wow.
look. Don't quote me. Don't quote me. That might be wrong. But I know YouTube is the second highest search engine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you could be found in YouTube videos. I don't think a lot of patients go to YouTube to find a new dentist, but there is value in creating content on YouTube and linking your YouTube account to your website. Just mention it.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing you can do is, when I talked about having contextual information in your articles. So when you write an article about dental implants and you have a video about it, include the video inside of your article, right? So if there's any way for you to leverage any of the media that you've created, whether it's audio clips, video, photos, images, music, whatever it might be, pull that in to your articles or your service pages on your website.
Gotcha. There's another question from Dr. Nazrata Body, and she's asking, how do you evaluate AI? Is it like SEO?
Yeah, there's actually tools that will track, and these are tools that have just shown up in the last probably 6 months, that will actually track how many times you show up in the citations, in the AI overview citations. So, and they'll track which keywords you're ranking for, and in the site. So you're looking at not just, so traditional search engine optimization metrics would basically tell you how many times your website shows up in a search query, and maybe how many
Mm-hmm.
times people click on it, or how many times your Google Business Profile shows up in Google Maps. But there's a whole other section with these AI overviews where you're now being cited. And so there are tools. I use a couple different tools to track this, but you can track and see how well, when you're being picked up and when you're not, and for which keywords and which search phrases. So it's all trackable. Um, there's actually quite a few tools that have just recently come on the market, and they're all really good. I use a product called SEMrush, SEM Rush, and they have some great tools. But I look
So
at,
they would generate like a report the same way SEO Google generates a report automatically for you.
yeah, so they just produce a report that would basically say, here's all the phrases, the search phrases that you're ranking for. Here's what's
Mm-hmm.
cited. And then they give ideas on how to improve your rankings in the AI overviews. And some of those ideas are the things I've been talking about, blogging,
Mm-hmm.
so forth, and FAQs and whatnot.
She also has a follow-up question. Can AEO or GEO do targeted marketing, like targeting specific companies?
Not yet. Okay. So the prediction, the loose prediction by most search engine, search marketers like myself and others out there believe that Google will very soon, probably in the next year, start selling citations in the AI overviews. But right now it's not an option. You can't do it. So what you could
Okay.
do if that's the case is you would run it like a Google Ads product. So how you would
Mm-hmm.
used to do PPC or Google Ads, you'd say, I want to bid on this keyword and I'm bidding against another company or another practice.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever ranks higher shows up in the Google Ads section.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be I can't imagine that that's not going to happen for the citations that are in the AI overviews. I think Google's going to walk away from too much Google Ads money. Like I was talking, it's like a $1.7 trillion valuation on just the ads, the Google Ads section. They're not going to walk away.
Wow.
They're going to try and create some kind of a paid model, whether that's including them in the citations or maybe putting a sponsored ad on the right side above the citations. There's going to be something. And once they do that, you would be able to target certain keywords, and other companies would be able to target dental practices. Like I might run an ad campaign about getting new patients. And so when you guys go on and you search for it, you see my ad in there, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's coming for sure. It's just not there yet. They haven't made the full kind of transition. Everybody's still trying to figure out kind of how this AI overview thing is going to work. So
100%. We have another question, Michael Yang. If my website has a high domain authority score but low visibility, what can I do to increase my visibility?
So if you have a high domain authority, what that basically means is that Google sees they see your website value. It's a score that kind of based on quite a few different metrics, but it's an authority score basically. Okay. So if you have a website, a dental practice website, and your domain authority is higher than other dental practices, then basically you'll be found more often. Now, the reason why your visibility is probably low, and I don't know, I'd have to look at the stats to give you a specific answer, but the first thing that comes to my mind is you might not be optimized for high value keywords. You might be ranking well for search phrases that don't get a lot of search traffic. So, but you might, but the ones that have higher search traffic, you might not be ranking high for them. And that probably has something to do with the way you've optimized the site. An example would be this. For us, we have a high domain authority as well in the dental marketing space. Okay. And our visibility is really, really high because we rank for lots and lots and lots of keywords. But there are a couple keywords that are like the most valuable keywords that we have a hard time getting into the top 2 or 3 positions. And it's just because there's a ton of competition. But if you can, you get a ton of clicks and you get a lot of awareness. So that keyword is dental marketing. Dental marketing is the main keyword in the dental marketing game. Dental website design is another big one, right? So, what we've been doing and what we've done over the past year is we write a ton of blog articles that are about the keyword that we want our website to rank for. Okay. So let's say that your website has a high domain, but you're not ranking well for dentist in your city, okay, which would be the root keyword, or best dentist in your city. It would be the root keyword and has the most search volume of all keywords, okay? Let's just say that's what we're talking about. What you would do is the optimization strategy would make sure that your website's optimized for best dentist, but you have to write lots of articles that are tangential to that search phrase. So you're writing article after article after article that reinforces the fact that you're the best dentist in your area. So, and I've seen this happen over and over and over again with my own company, with lots of practices. This is why blogging is so important, because if you're not blogging, you're not creating new content that helps you rank for multiple keywords. Okay. Now, and we're talking more about right now, we're talking more of a traditional SEO strategy. Okay. Just getting your website to rank for a keyword or getting a blog article to rank for a keyword. So you look at the words, the keywords that you're not ranking for, that you want to rank for, and you emphasize that by writing blog content. And then what I've been talking about in this presentation is slightly shift the way that that blog copy is written so that it's not like it's written with chunks of information so that you get picked up in the AI overviews as well. Okay. So you're writing it slightly different. You're not writing a big long narrative format. You're writing a question and an answer and a next question and an answer. So there are chunks of copy and you're adding your FAQs and you're adding your video and all this kind of stuff. And that supports, it's kind of like fodder for an AI to suck that in, or a portion of it to suck it into your AI overviews. But in reference to getting your website to rank or your Google business profile to rank, um, traditional SEO is still a thing. You still want to write blog articles that support your Google business profile and support your overall website so that you rank your website for a particular keyword. That's a really good question, and I could go a lot deeper on that with the person who asked the question. And so, if they're interested, I'm happy to jump on a call and talk more. I'd love to see the stats they're looking at, which would help me understand how to answer it better. But that's my first guess.
Definitely. I'll make sure to send their information to you and get yours to them so they can reach out to you.
Cool. Are there any
All right,
questions?
perfect. That's all the questions so far.
Last part:
All right.
dental AI receptionists. Okay. I'm curious if anybody on the call is using a dental AI receptionist. This is an AI that's built on like Chat GPT that can answer the phone for you. If anybody's using one, will you just say I am? And Alexis, tell me if there's anybody using one.
Yes, I have one office so far.
Let me know which product you're using. I'm curious. Like, are you using, like, the product that I use for our clients is called Annie, but there's a
What is
handful
it called? I'm sorry.
of Annie AI, Annie,
Oh,
Annie. But there's a few of them out there, and there's some really good ones. But I'm just curious, for those practices who are not using one, are unfamiliar with it, this is like a big deal. Okay, this is like huge. Some of the stats around using an AI receptionist are kind of unbelievable. I'll show you some stats here, and why I even got into this. So there's a problem in dentistry. Okay, let me start with this problem, and the solution, or a solution, is to use an AI agent. Um, Staffing is the number one problem, at least as I can see in the dental industry. Case acceptance is probably high up there, but staffing is an unbelievably difficult issue, especially since I won't say that thing that like the name the disease that shall not be named. Okay, since 2020 and that happened, it's even been more difficult. I understand your pain. Okay, the statistics are pretty strong that on average, this may not be your practice, you might be higher or lower than this, but the statistics over the years have gone anywhere from 20% of a dental staff turning over to all up to 30, and it's dropped down. The projection is it should hit around 28%. So if you've got 3 people at your front desk, one of them is probably going to leave this year, and you're going to have to find somebody new. That's a problem. The problem is just the time and the energy of restaffing. It's just a pain. Now, the reason why people leave, and these stats are primarily focused on the front office, okay? Low pay, overworked, work-life balance problems, lack of appreciation, and better opportunities. But low pay is the big one, and next, kind of close to that's overworked. I did an analysis and I talked to several dental consultants. All of them had worked in a practice before, and I actually talked to some doctors and front office staff to try and create a pie chart about what a front office staff member does. Okay. Now, this might be a little bit different depending on the practice, but this is probably pretty close in terms of the responsibilities of the front office staff. I'll just run through these really quick. 17% of their time is spent answering the phone, 6% listening to voicemails, 10% insurance verification and claims, 12% appointment scheduling, 9% other daily operations, patient check-in and checkouts 9%, payment processing and billing is 7, administrative tasks are 5, treatment planning support 3.5%, email management 5, texting and chat messaging 4.5%, calling unscheduled hygiene is 2%. It probably should be higher than that, but nobody wants to do it. Other digital communication 1.5%, and other tasks 2%. Now, it might be a slight variation of that for your practice. That's a lot to do. Okay, let's just be honest. There's a lot of tasks. You walk into a dental practice. I went to the dentist like 2 months ago. I walk in, nobody greets me. Everybody's on the phone. There's 3 or 4 people in the office waiting. I had to wait 5 minutes to get anybody to even talk to me because they're just they're slammed, right? So how do you solve this problem? Well, actually, let me talk about the cost of turnover. I've conservatively estimated, and in California, it's definitely higher than this. Okay. This is kind of a nationwide conservative estimate that the total cost to replace an employee is between $7,000 to $15,000. I was in New Jersey a couple months ago. I was at a presentation. I showed this screen and I had a couple hands go up and say, that is super low. An orthodontist told me they're spending about $50,000 to $100,000 to find a new employee in New Jersey, which sounded astronomical to me. But you can think about your own practice and the costs that are accrued or incurred when you got to find a new employee. There, excuse me. Whoa. All right, I'm back. Staffing agency fees, 10 to 20% if you use a staffing agency. Recruiting and advertising, $2,700. Training costs, $5,000 to around $5,000. That's the cost of the trainer and the trainee and the time that takes them to get up and running. A lost opportunity cost. What could you be doing if you're not having to train a new staff member? Okay. There's team and patient disruption. This is an intangible cost, but there's definitely a cost to it. I know that when one of my employees leaves the company, I have a ripple effect where people are like, why did they leave? Are things bad here? Are things better somewhere else? It's drama, right? So there's like this messiness with that. Benefits packages get included. Anyway, $7,000 to $15,000 is conservative. So if you have 9 employees, let's just say, and you're going to lose 3 of them over the next year, you're talking about $30,000 just in replacing them. Okay, or probably a lot more in SoCal. It's a cost and a disruption to business. So one way to kind of help solve this problem is to take off some of the responsibilities of this front office staff and automate it. So these are the pieces that I can see you can automate right now. Okay. One, listening to voicemails can be completely automated. Matter of fact, voicemail is going to go away. My prediction is that nobody's going to use it in 2 to 3 years because it's an outdated technology and it doesn't work. The statistics, consumer statistics show that about 75% of everybody sent to voicemail hangs up. They don't even leave voicemails anymore. So if it's a new patient in the evening and they've got an emergency, you've lost them for sure. They're not leaving a voicemail. They're just calling the next dental practice. Okay. So voicemail can be totally taken care of. 2, texting and chatting. I'll show you an example of that. Hygiene, recare, or callbacks can be completely automated by AI. And there's other digital strategies, about 1.5% can all be automated. I've estimated, I think conservatively, about 14% of the front office desk's responsibilities can be automated, freeing up about 5.5 hours a week. Okay. So this is how you do it. Now, I won't spend too much time. I'm going to skip a couple slides because we've got 14 minutes and I do want to leave a little bit of time for Q&A. So I'm going to describe some of these and skip through some of the graphics. I'll play this as I'm talking. Okay. This is a web chat that's powered by a live agent. So this is a practice that's hired. They're not doing their own web chat. Okay. And by the way, let me back up. Only about 15 to 17% of dental practices have web chat, which is kind of crazy because about 2/3 of the population reportedly prefer chatting. They don't want to call your office, especially the weird Gen Zs and millennials who can't speak full sentences anyway, right? They would rather text or chat. So the fact that dental practices don't have chat on their websites is kind of startling. But the reason why they don't have it is because it's super intrusive, right? If you chat somebody, if a patient chats you and you're talking to a patient in the office, or you got 5 other things you're doing, you're not going to stop and answer a chat. We launched a web chat product, not an AI product, but just a regular web chat product back in 2019. Every single practice we put the web chat on called us back and said, take this damn thing off. We're getting too many chats. So we're like, whoa, we didn't expect that. So we killed the project because we realized that dental teams can't manage chat, which is the reason why nobody's got it on their website. So the only options are to hire a company that has live agents, probably sitting in their basement somewhere, answering chats like this lady here, or to have some kind of a form or something like that in the chat, which isn't chat, it's just a form. So I'm playing this video because this is a typical live chat situation. And I'm asking this agent, this live agent, questions, and it's taking her on an average of 23 seconds to respond. At 6 seconds, 5 seconds, you've lost probably 80% of the people. They're not going to wait. They expect chat to be like immediate responses. Okay. That's why they're chatting. They prioritize their time. So, a live agent have the way that I've seen it, unless you can find a company that is like dialed in and their agents know everything about your practice and are responding quickly, which is hard to find, you don't have a good solution. What happens is companies that offer live agents optimize or streamline their businesses by having that live agent manage multiple chats at one time. They don't want one agent having one chat, stopping and then going to another thing, because it's not a streamlined way to maximize your productivity with your chat team, right? So these agents are probably looking at 5 to 10, 20 chats at a time. So they're jumping from a practice in New Jersey chat to someone in SoCal, and then somebody in Nebraska or South Dakota. The agent does not have the time or the capacity to like quickly be able to answer questions effectively. They can't source the information quick enough. They might be talking to 100 different practices or speaking on behalf of 100 different practices in one day. You can't ask an agent to know everything about that practice. So what happens with these systems is they kind of degrade down to a basic lead gen thing where they just get the name, email, and phone and then send it to the practice and have somebody in the practice call them back. That's what happens with them, okay? So, and I'm going to skip this one. So AI agents that are built on, so anyway, let me go back to my story. We killed the project, okay? We just got rid of chat and we thought we're never going to be able to do this. We were trying to do this because we knew that if we had chat on a website, we could probably improve conversions by at least 1%. So if you send 1,000 people to the practice's website, we might get 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 patients to schedule just because we have chat, because the person doesn't have the time to call or they don't want to call. And then it flopped because nobody wants to answer the chat. So we killed the project. Then ChatGPT comes out in late November of 2022. Okay, so it's been almost 3 years since it's been out. And I'm playing with ChatGPT. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. This can speak like a human. If there was a way to build into ChatGPT or take ChatGPT and isolate it and then give it 10,000 pages of information about the practice, history, doctors, all the insurances they take or don't take, specials, blah, 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 whatever, it could carry on a conversation on behalf of the practice better than a live agent. So we built it. Actually, we didn't build it. We invested in a company, My Social Practice, put money into a company called Annie right as they were getting started, Annie AI. So it's not my company, but we own part of it because we're using it to help improve our marketing campaigns by offering chat. So this is a quick clip of an actual chat. Okay, I'll just play it. You can see how quick the agent responds. And what I think most people don't realize is how sophisticated these agents can get. You have the ability to teach these agents to speak exactly like you want to speak. So if you have a sales framework or a scripting framework that you try and get your front desk to stick to, you can ingest that scripting in and the agent follows it every time. And then you can make edits and update it and make it better and better and better. Okay. So we launched web chat about 1.5 years ago that's powered by ChatGPT. And we basically did what I described. We isolated it, we train it on the practice's data and information, and now it speaks for the practice. And you can go in any time and you can kind of like tweak it and make it better and better and better. And the more tweaking you do, the better it gets. So we started offering that to our practices, and it's awesome because nobody on the team has to even deal with it. And you offer a new communication channel to your patient database. And especially for those patients who don't want to make a phone call, this is a great way to get them to schedule an appointment. The next thing that we did is we connected the agent to the practice management system so it can actually schedule appointments. And we spent a long time working on getting that agent to read the schedule correctly, because every practice has some funky way that they set their schedule up, and it's not the same across the board. They have multiple doctors, they have multiple locations, they don't want to take emergency appointments. They don't want to take, they don't want to offer pediatric, but they do want to offer, adults or whatever it might be. And then the way that they block out time, some practices want to block out 15 minutes or an hour, or they want to double up and add 2 people to come at the same time because some people don't show up, all this kind of stuff. And we've built this agent so that when we set it up, we can tweak it to we can customize it to understand exactly how a practice sets up their schedule. Okay. And that took a long time, and we're still working on it because it's such a finesse part of this. Okay. So we connected to the practice management system. And then the next thing that we did is we tied it to we gave it a voice. So last year in November, we soft launched an AI agent that's trained on ChatGPT that powers the web chat. And we just took that and we tied it we just replaced their voicemail basically. And we've done this on about 200 practices. And it's unbelievable how many new patients you get when you pick up your freaking phone, right? And I'm not saying that in a jab, but practices traditionally miss like 25 to 35% of the calls that come in because you guys don't have enough time to answer every call that comes in during the day, and you're not picking up calls in the evening. So you tie this agent to it, and now you got 24/7 coverage. I don't know what's going on, but I got some kombucha. Let me take a sip. Here's an actual recording to give you an idea of how good these are.
Hello, my name is Annie. I'm Smile Prestige's AI assistant. How can I help you?
Hey, I have an implant that I need to get, and I just wanted to see how much that was going to cost.
We'd be happy to help with that. What was your name?
Rinda.
Thanks, Rinda. Have you visited our practice before, or would this be your first time?
First time.
Well, it is nice to meet you, Rinda. Just in case we get disconnected, what was your phone number?
And I redacted all the patient information from this.
Thanks, Rinda. To answer your question, the price of an implant can vary depending on what exact treatment our doctor recommends. Would you like to schedule a consultation and we can give you a detailed breakdown of your estimated cost after we've assessed your needs?
I have Cigna. Do you know how much they'll cover?
Many insurance plans, including Cigna, will cover at least a portion of implant-related costs, though the exact coverage can vary depending on your plan's details. We'd be happy to give you a detailed breakdown of your coverage and costs before your appointment. Would you like me to look for some open times for a consultation?
Are you able to give me a ballpark estimate?
While it's hard to give a ballpark estimate without first assessing your needs, we'd be happy to give you a full breakdown of your exact coverage after your consultation. If those costs are higher than you can afford, we'd be happy to tell you about our flexible payment options as well. We offer Care Credit and Cherry, which provide affordable ways to split up your payments if the recommended treatment falls outside of your budget. Would you like me to look at some open times?
Yes.
All right. So notice the way that this agent handles the cost question. Okay. She asked 3 times, how much does a dental implant cost? We trained it to not mention a price because the practice didn't want to do that. And that's fundamentally, you don't want to do that because this is they're the price shopper. They're price shopping, right? This is one of the most complicated, difficult calls to have for a front desk person because they cave. You know, you've got somebody on your front answering the phone. They may be a 23, 25-year-old young man or young woman who hasn't had sales experience. They're talking to somebody that might be a little bit aggressive, and they cave and they mention a price and you never get them in. Okay. So the agent follows a framework here where it does not answer that question. And that's specifically how this agent has been set up. And you can do that for everything. So she ended up getting a scheduled appointment. And I didn't follow through to find out what kind of value they got on that, but this person came in and scheduled. Okay. I have lots of those recordings to give you more examples, but let me just show you 2 case studies to give you an idea what this ends up doing. And I'm showing you this because this is valuable to my social practice and our clients. I have to get on a call every month, or my team does, to talk to the doctor or the office manager to say, hey, you paid us this much money last month. And they're going to ask, well, what do we get for it? And if we can't pick up the calls that come in the evening or weekends or overflow calls that go to voicemail and people hang up, we are missing out on revenue that we can so that we can justify why the doctor even keeps paying us or should keep paying us, right? So we invested in the company to improve our marketing, which puts dollars in our practice, our clients' pockets, and they keep paying us, right? I mean, that's just the reality of it. So this is Ace Dental at Colleen. This is a 30-day overview of what they did. The agent picked up 393 calls and chats, the majority being calls. From those calls, they had 67 appointments scheduled. 9 of them were from new patients. And they generated, the agent, at the end of the month, we can look at those patients. We check to see when they come in, and we pull the case value of what they paid. Generated $32,000 in revenue. That is not an astronomical number. I've got some practices that have picked up $65,000, $85,000 in additional revenue that has come through an agent that's just making sure the call is answered, right? Of those calls, 37 were emergency appointment calls, 57 were calls about rescheduling. So it's handling active patients who need to reschedule. 25 appointment confirmations, 32 calls about questions, and 14 calls about billing. Here's another example. Comfort Dental, this is a DSO. They're in Denver, Colorado. 221 conversations, 55 appointments scheduled, 11 new patients, almost $30,000 in revenue. These are average from across all of the clients that we put through. So if you're a smaller practice, you've got 1 doctor and maybe 2 operatories or something like that or whatever, it might be less. But the lowest I've seen is around $5,000 to $8,000 in revenue generated just because this agent's picking up calls that might have gone to voicemail and nobody leaves a voicemail and never comes back. So this is like the future of streamlining a dental practice. It takes that task, takes web chat, hygiene. The agents can call out to your current patients who don't have a future hygiene appointment, schedule an appointment. They can receive inbound calls. And the development of these agents is rapidly developing. Billing will be included in these soon. Appointment confirmations will be included soon. In Q3, before the end of the year, this particular agent, Annie, will be able to follow up with patients who haven't accepted treatment. And we all know how much value is sitting in a practice of non-accepted treatment. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you can automate the whole process. And because these agents are so good at managing those conversations, you have to look at an AI agent that can help support the front desk to just grow your practice, right? I didn't have any idea when we started getting into this that these were the kind of results that we were going to get. It's astronomical. So anyway, I would highly recommend that you investigate if you're missing phone calls, that you should seriously consider not using voicemail, definitely not, and consider using an AI receptionist. There are a few companies out there that I would recommend. The one I would definitely recommend is the one that we use because we're involved in the development of it and I know it works well. And if you're interested in that and learning more about it, there's a QR code where you can send that to me and I'll give you a call and we can talk about it if you're interested. Okay, questions on dental AI receptionist. The whole idea there was twofold.
Get the
One,
video going.
Yes. Okay, so we have two questions.
go ahead.
One is how effective is AI receptionist handling price shoppers calling from Google local ads? Would AI receptionist know to limit calls to under 30 seconds to prevent the office from getting charged by Google?
I don't use Google local ads. I
Okay.
tested that a couple years ago and I did it with several practices and it was really, really difficult to generate an ROI. The ads, I mean, it seems like you're going to get a good lead, but there are a lot of price shoppers and I did not see a return on investment. So I can't answer that question well because I
I
just
just
got
see
to
the
test.
last question is.
Okay. And the last question that we have is, as of right now, we are using the texting and chatting system, but there are a lot of issues between our software and the texting system. There are a lot of things that have to be updated by a staff member. What guarantees that AI systems would work efficiently for our practice?
So unfamiliar with exactly what problems you're running into with texting. I
We
can
have the
tell
next
you,
webinar.
I
I don't have
can
the flyer, but
that.
it's
You know when it is and get ready.
Okay. Sorry, I thought you were asking the
photos.
question, Dr. Safa. I can tell
Sorry.
that's okay. In the web chat, so the Annie product that we use for our clients, it can text, but it's not an appointment reminder texting system like Solution Reach or Revenue Well or Podium. It's not doing appointment reminders right yet. Okay. And so it will be. We're working on it right now. All I can comment on is how it handles web chat. And the web chat conversations and the sophistication there is blows away anything I've ever seen with the typical texting systems. So the ability of an AI agent to be trained specifically to a practice and to follow certain protocols, sales scripting and frameworks and so forth is pretty sophisticated. If you're interested, in my follow, I'll send an email out to all of you, and I'll send you a demo site. It's a website. It's not a real practice, but I have this Annie agent built into the site so you can play with it. I will send that out to you, and you can ask it questions and see how it responds. And if you're more interested in
And
building
the
some,
video.
we're good. Did you say something, Dr. Safa?
No, just turning on the video
Okay.
so
All
we
right. So
can.
let me end my screen share. I thank you. That was 2 hours full of stuff. So, and I
Yes.
went over 5 minutes, but I got to be honest with you. speaking for 2 hours and nailing 2 hours dead on is kind of tough. So I'm going to call this one.
Thank you for
So
going over the amount of information you've given out. It's crazy.
Well, thank
yes.
And also, I usually get I have a lot of conversations with my general practitioners, and GP marketing is very finicky. So there's a lot involved in marketing for general practice. It's different than specialty practice. So it's,
Yeah,
it's a different beast.
for sure.
And we thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. Thank you. And I'm going to hand it over to Alexis. She has a couple of announcements to make.
Yes, so certificates will be going out by the next 2 weeks. So keep an eye out on your email, especially the one that you did register with, as the certificates will be going back to that email address. And also, our next Zoom webinar will be Thursday, August 21st from 6 to 8 p.m. with Philip Curtis, and it will be over increasing your PPO fees and also knowing how to navigate all of your insurances and getting the best reimbursement.
Okay.
That is it.
Thank you, Adrian.
Hey, you are so welcome. I'd love to come back. Please keep me in the back of your head. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I really want your attendees to take advantage of like using up all of my time by asking me additional questions. So, Alexis, if you will let me email everybody at least once, I'll put a whole bunch of information in there about what I've talked about, other resources. I'll put that demo in there, some videos. And then you're welcome. Anybody's welcome to shoot me an email. I'll jump on a call with you. Okay.
Yeah, Alexis is going to attach all of that you're sending to the CE certificates, and she'll send it to all the attendees. So
Okay.
they're going to have everything.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Oh,
Say hi to Jack and Blake.
oh yeah. Jack and Blake. I speak to them often. We bought them out. They wanted to go out and do some other stuff. So
Yeah, that's what
it was
yeah.
tough to see them go because I worked with them for so long, but they're doing well. They're doing very well.
Good. Okay. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Yes. Have a
Appreciate
good
the
night.
opportunity.
Thank
Thank you, Adrian.
you.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye-bye.